were going to the National Mall and we were going to ask random strangers if they were in charge of the government's budget and they found a surplus of $1 billion, which department they would give it to. So, bye for now. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
I would definitely give it to education. I think it's super important that our children are educated for the future so that they can help us even more.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
Department of Health.
Why?
Because there's a lot of sick people out here, and there are a lot of diseases, cancers, different kind of illnesses that need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
The Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay, why?
Because I think climate change and our response to it as a country is one of the most important issues of our generation.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
That's a really good question, and I think what I would do is I would take that $1 billion and put it towards medical research to try to find cures for devastating diseases.
Why?
Because I think that rather than spending $1 billion on just everyday recurring needs, I would like to invest that money in something that will reap benefits in the future. And I think investing in research is something that will pay off benefits in the future.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
I would give it to the Environmental Protection Agency.
Why?
Because I think climate change is the biggest problem facing the world today. So.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
I would give it to health. I'm a doctor, and so I work in the UK, and we have lots of issues with funding for our healthcare system, but our healthcare system means that everybody's entitled to free healthcare. So for me, I think that spending on health is a priority for everyone from babies to to the aging population.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
Which department?
Yeah.
Whichever department is in charge of giving Native American people a lot more land. So the Department of the Interior, I guess.
Okay, why?
Because Native American people have been treated very poorly by this country and relegated into tiny little reservations that have, a lot of them don't have running water and stuff like that, so I think it would be good to fix that.
Okay, thank you. If you're in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
As a teacher from Louisiana, I would definitely say the Department of Education.
Why?
The students of America need assistance. Disenfranchised learners need literacy, they need books, and teachers need effective professional development. Our country needs to invest in our children.
Okay, thank you. If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
None of them.
Why?
Government's too big to begin with. It should go back to the people. Just a straight up rebate. Send it all back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you were in charge of the government's budget and you found a surplus of $1 billion, which department would you give it to?
Education.
Why?
Without a doubt.
Why?
Because we need to invest in the future of our children, and I think that would be the area, especially the federal funding goes for special education needs and that sort of thing, so that would be where I'd give them.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I would give it to the Department of Health because there's like a lot of people die every year because of a disease like cancer, and like sometimes they just like survive, but like it affects their whole life. Like it changes the way like they see the world, like because like kids, like they have to like go in the hospital. They don't really like, sometimes they have to get like a lot of treatments. They usually have to get a lot of treatments, and like they miss like a lot of school and everything. And if it like they found a cure, then that will help many people. And that like because it can help anybody from like an infant to a senior, it's like it helps everybody. Thank you.